Boom! What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. I do apologize. MVP number 16 was not uploaded to YouTube. Uh, Technical difficulties, but this one will be. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I always start off by saying thank you, so thank you. I've been talking so much NBA free agency, so much basketball, that I wanted to take this episode specifically for MMA. So, all the MMA fans, I know you'll enjoy this one. Basketball fans, NFL fans, any sport fans, baseball, soccer, shout out to the women's national soccer team. I recommend you listen to this too, because the UFC, in my opinion, that and soccer, is the fastest growing sport. I just think it's something that is, like I've said before, I've said it to Abe Kawa, who's the manager of Jon Jones and Jorge and the best of the best, right? Like what Dana White said, everybody will drop what they're doing to watch a fight. It's just in our DNA. It's really weird. Not necessarily the fight or flight, but just being attracted to seeing what's going on. You see it all the time. Twitter, World Star, people flip out their phones. Not necessarily flip, but they take out their phones, they record the fight, they post it, get a lot of likes, a lot of retweets. Anyway, so I recommend everyone listen to this. So we just had UFC 239, which was a huge UFC fight card. It was the fight card known for its knockouts. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I texted Rob Parker today, and I was like, did you see that 5-second knockout? He's like, no, I'm going to check it out. Like, you have to check it out. This is what makes the UFC special. This is what makes it special. It's absolutely insanity. A 5-second knockout at this level, well, first of all, it's a record, so it's never been done before, but it's just unheard of. You don't see 5-second knockouts like that. A flying knee. Jorge Masvidal, shout out to first round management, stole the show. 5-second knockout over Ben Askren. But I wanted to get into it with this. This was the best thing to happen to the UFC. Best thing to happen. Jon Jones winning, Jorge Masvidal winning, and Amanda Nunes winning. And I want to break down all three. So I'm going to start off with Jorge Masvidal. We have this trend right now in sports, specifically MMA, where you get the money fight through talking trash, being outspoken, being entertaining. It's the entertainment business. Dana White wants to know you're going to put butts in seats. He wants to know people want to see you fight. So that seems to be the trend. Conor McGregor really started that. He revolutionized the sport with his trash talk. It's right up there with Muhammad Ali's level of trash talk. It's just brilliant. It's just a gift. It's an art that he has. Some people can try to replicate it. People can try to mimic it, but they can't do it like Conor. I don't know if it's the accent. He's just smart, he's witty, and it's natural to him. So you're not going to be Conor McGregor with it. But we see a lot of a lot of fighters implementing this into their new pre-fight ritual. Trash talk. You don't like your opponent, talk bad about them. But there's been this weird thing, and I think the Conor-Khabib fight is really what magnified it, of what's crossing the line and what's not. Is it you don't want to talk about someone's religion, their family, their kids, and disrespecting their name. And it's like, I get there's trash talk, but there's also respect. And I think some fighters have passed that respect point. So I think we saw this, and I think Ben Askren is one of the real people in MMA where his trash talk is natural. It's who he is. He's smart. He's very intelligent. He's very witty, and I think that's natural. I don't think that's staged. I think he picks fights with a lot of people, but he's undefeated. It worked for him, and I think that's just who he is. I don't think Colby Covington's a natural trash talker. I'm not saying I hate Colby Covington. I'm just saying I think that is more, he's trying to get his name out. He's trying to get bigger fights. I don't think that's him. I don't think that's him at all. I don't think it's organic. I think it's definitely him thinking about what he wants to say and how he can be the best trash talker he can be. I think Ben Askren's is more natural. But my point is, so we have this trend of MMA trash talk. And then you have the guys like Jorge Masvidal, who doesn't take any crap. He does not take crap. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's not going to take crap. He's going to look at you and say, I'm going to maul you. Now, if you want to talk more crap, it's just going to be even worse for you. So you kind of you choose what you want. You pick. We saw what Khabib did to Conor, and now we see what Jorge did for Ben. So it was really interesting, and because Jorge talked about it. He's like, when you cross that line, it's dangerous because it's still not over. Jorge said he would slap him at Whole Foods. It's not over. So it was really cool to see the new Like I said, I think Ben is organic. I think that's just who he is. But it's interesting to see the trash talk against the stoic. Jorge's not quiet because he doesn't ignore conflict, but he doesn't like to engage in the pettiness of the trash talk. He'll straight up say, "I'm going to beat you." And that's his trash talk. It's just 100% real, 100% authentic. And Jorge, this is absolutely brilliant, and this is why I think coaching matters so much in the MMA, arguably more than any other sport. He practiced that flying knee before it happened. Like going into it, Mike Brown from American Top Team, I've been to that gym. Billy Patton, I've had on the podcast. That gym is not only state of the art, but the coaches are just world-class coaches. World-class in a state-of-the-art facility with the best athletes in the world, with the most savage fighters. Iron sharpens iron, sharpens iron, sharpens iron. And that's why you have so many champions there. That's why you have so much success out of that camp. I think first-round management is a great management where it's just they understand the game and they're having tons of success, so much momentum. Jon Jones and Jorge both stealing the show. My point is, it was awesome to see that, to see Jorge shut up the trash talker. And I like Ben. I'm a fan of Ben. But it was so much fun because we've seen Conor win. We've seen Colby win. We've seen these trash talkers win. But it's interesting to see when the trash talker gets shut up. It's really interesting. And Jorge stole the show. His flying knee, 5-second KO. I don't care what anyone says. He was right in that press conference. You punch until the referee stops you. It wasn't a cheap shot. It's just a part of MMA. Look at Chuck Liddell's highlights. He followed it up with that left all the time. That was awesome. Jorge was awesome, and he deserves the title shot. Jorge Masvidal needs to fight Kamaru Usman. That's just the fight to make. That's the fight to make, because I guarantee if Ben Askren would have won, it would have been Kamaru Usman next. Because Tyron Woodley's fighting Robbie Lawler. I think Colby is actually fighting him next, but Masvidal isn't that title shot contention. There's no doubt about it. What he's done and who he's beaten, to beat Till the way he beat Till, to beat Askren, who was undefeated, and he is a growing star. Growing star. He's one of those people that are authentic, that love to fight. They just have that dog in them. That's not something you teach. It's in your DNA. Jorge Masvidal is one of the fastest rising stars in the sport. I want to get into Jon Jones also, before I get into Amanda Nunes. This was the best thing to happen for fans and for Jon Jones. Jon Jones has been taken for granted with his pure skill and grace in the octagon. Now, you can judge however you want to judge him outside of the octagon. That's not for me to say. I don't think that's really for anyone to say. I'm not getting to that. I'm going inside of the octagon because I do think Jon Jones has flipped it around. I think he's on the right track. I think he's doing great things. I tweeted about it that people take, and I was right on all my predictions. Jon Jones, people are taking it for granted on how well he delivers night in and night out. He delivers night in and night out. Every single time, he's never been defeated besides the no contest to Matt Hamill, which we all know was BS. Jon Jones is undefeated in the octagon. Yes, he's athletically gifted. He has the longest reach in UFC history. He has all the ingredients to be a star, but we've never seen somebody always deliver every single time. Khabib's on that track, but I need to see more title defenses through Khabib. Jon Jones is on the verge of breaking the record. The people he's beaten, Jon Jones has beaten Shogun, he's beaten Rampage, Gus, Daniel Cormier, Lyoto Machida, Vitor Belfort, and now Santos, and you name it. Jon Jones has beaten these people. Night in and night out. And I think once we see excellence, we take it for granted. I think we take LeBron for granted. I think we take Steph Curry for granted. I think we take Jon Jones for granted. We just assume he's going to go in there and win. Santos had a hell of a fight, hell of heart, and had a great game plan going into it. And props to Santos. Absolute props. Again, out of American Top Team. But this was a wake-up call. That we can't just expect excellence in the sport of MMA where anything can happen. I just talked about a 5-second knockout with Jorge Masvidal. And we have to start taking what Jon Jones does seriously. I think we just think, oh, yep, he's going to win. That's not fair to him. We're seeing the all-time great. In my opinion, he's the pound-for-pound greatest fighter to ever step foot in the octagon. Never lost and has beaten the who's who of Hall of Famers. And this has to be a wake-up call to the UFC and to fans. I think this is a wake-up call because now you have to make the fight with Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. You have to make it. And I know people want to say Santos deserves the rematch. And he probably does. But if Daniel Cormier beats Stipe, there's one fight to make left for him. And even if he doesn't beat Stipe, I guarantee you the competitor that Daniel Cormier is will want to fight Jon Jones again. Because he lost technically when Jon Jones tested positive for illegal substances. So that's a fight DC wants, and there's a lot that Jon Jones can gain from it. I think it makes both parties happy, and it's the fight that people want to see. This is a star-driven business, and Jon Jones is a star. Daniel Cormier is a star. They have a feud. They have unfinished business, and we just saw Jon Jones almost lost. Now, I don't think he was ever in, huge danger. I don't think he was ever, rocked. Yeah, that leg took damage, but I thought Jon Jones was in control. I thought he won the fight. But I am more interested in seeing Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier than I am Jon Jones versus Thiago Santos, too. Now, that's no disrespect to Santos. I think Santos arguably should get the rematch. But I want to see Bones versus DC, because I think we're taking for granted how much Jon Jones delivers night in and night out. I think we're taking it for granted that Daniel Cormier delivers night in and night out. And I don't want that fight to slip right out of our hands. And I think that fight can slip right out of our hands. Daniel Cormier is already on the verge of retiring. Jon Jones just had the toughest fight. It's really weird. I think the Gus fight was the toughest fight, but this fight was extremely tough. Santos came in with a great game plan, kept his composure, and fought through a torn ACL. But this is a wake-up call. Jon Jones versus DC needs to happen. I think this was the best thing for it to happen, for Dana White to see that. Oh, wow, Jon Jones actually can lose. And if he loses, he shouldn't fight DC. He needs to get his belt back. So we need to make this fight happen while we can. Time is not on our side with this fight. And lastly, with this fight card, Amanda Nunes, right? I said she's the GOAT since the beginning. I interviewed her, I think it's now 3 years ago, but 2 years at the time. And I said, hey, Super Fights is in the direction right now for the UFC. Have you ever thought about fighting Chris Cyborg and getting that belt, that second belt? It ended up coming to fruition. She ended up knocking out Chris Cyborg, who everyone thought was unstoppable. She beat Ronda Rousey, beat Miesha Tate, Sarah McMahon, all the champions she's beaten. Now she fights Holly Holmes, who was the first to ever beat Ronda Rousey the way she did. Holly Holmes shocked the world. And Amanda Nunes knocked out Holly Holmes with her own signature kick. The absolute GOAT of MMA, the champ, defended her belt. The UFC has a women's star. She's marketable, very friendly, very happy, very humble, very respectable, and she is a beast. She is a beast. We've never seen this. This type of dominance is unprecedented in the UFC. I've never seen this. Amanda Nunes needs to be one of the biggest stars in the UFC and marketed like she is one of the biggest stars in the UFC, because she is. She's right there in the pound-for-pound list. Amanda Nunes delivered with a first-round knockout over Holly Holmes after beating Chris Cyborg, after beating Ronda Rousey, after becoming the champ. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Amanda Nunes has not only solidified herself as the GOAT of women's MMA, I think Amanda Nunes has an opportunity to go down as one of the greatest of all time in women's and MMA. Skill for skill, her boxing, her kickboxing, her Muay Thai, her jiu-jitsu, her wrestling. American top team. American top team. She's unbelievable. She's absolutely unbelievable. So the UFC won. They got Jorge Masvidal, the rising star, with a record-breaking knockout over the undefeated trash-talking Ben Askren. Jon Jones won, but it's a wake-up call. You need to book the fight with Daniel Cormier. And Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's fighter of all time and needs to be presented like one. That was a wake-up call. UFC 239 was a huge success. I think Diego Sanchez needs to hang it up. I think he's already a Hall of Famer. He has nothing left to prove. Save your health and just move on. That was kind of tough to see. And Luke Rockhold, it goes to show you that anyone can get knocked out, especially when you move up the weight class. UFC 239 was a huge success. But I want to get into what this means for the UFC as a whole, as a business, right? I said it's a star-driven business. And I thought about it. There was a time where it was Randy and Chuck and Tito and Rich Franklin and Matt Hughes, and those were the golden days. Before that, you've had Royce Gracie, who really just started MMA and brought jiu-jitsu to life and made people realize you don't have to be the biggest, strongest guy to win a fight, right? He revolutionized the UFC forever. Then you had the Golden Age, like I just told you, those guys. Then we had the elite stage where it's Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre and Jose Aldo and Cain Velasquez. I'm like, okay, there's like a new breed. And then we got to this point with Conor. And Conor revolutionized it again. He made it global. He's not global, but he made it for the average consumer needs to go and watch the UFC fight. We've never seen anyone change the sport the way Conor did. No one will ever change it the way he did. And so then at post-Conor, because he lost to Khabib, he went and he fought Floyd. So now we're in this stage where Jon Jones still the greatest, but who's your star? And I thought about it and I tweeted about it. I wrote it down. The UFC's in its prime, and it's about to even get better. The UFC has Conor McGregor returning. The biggest pay-per-view draw in MMA. You have the undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov, 27-0 as a champion. So that's your elite breed. Then you have Jon Jones, the greatest of all time, currently still the champion in his prime. Jorge Masvidal is your fast-growing star. Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's fighter of all time as a champ in her prime. Daniel Cormier, a champ as your heavyweight star. You know, the heavyweight division will always be the most famous division because of the Alis and the Tysons and the Foremans and the Fraziers. DC is your heavyweight champion. With ESPN, he does the detail. He's a great representative for the sport. Then you have Max Holloway, who's beyond entertaining. He's hip. He's the modern culture. People love Max Holloway. He's a fan favorite. Entertaining as can be. Then you have your new young talent in Israel Adesanya, the style bender, the last style bender. So I'm listing you star after star after star after star after star in a star-driven business. The UFC's in its prime, and it's only going up. I know there seemed to be a time where it kind of was dull, but now I think it's not only picked right back up, but it's going to get even better. Because I do think the Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier fight does happen. I think Conor McGregor does come back hungry. I think Khabib Nurmagomedov is one of the best champions we've ever seen, and I think Dustin Poirier shocks the world. Jorge Masvidal. Usman, your first Nigerian champion. Like, this is global, it's star-driven, they're elite breeds, they're pay-per-view draws. The UFC is in a great position, and now it's just a matter of time before people get the ESPN Plus deal. They understand where they get these fights, because before it was just pay-per-view. So now the average consumer can kind of understand where they can access it. There's always an adjustment period, but the UFC's in a great position. And I think it's trending upwards. I really do. I really do. And now, like I said, they need to implement that scoreboard theory because now you're getting more average consumers. They need to be able to know what they're watching and keep track of it because just because you're on the bottom doesn't mean you're losing. The average consumer doesn't understand martial arts the way a fighter does, a trainer does, someone that's hardcore that followed it since day one. Not everyone knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the wrestling and the Muay Thai and the kickboxing. They don't. They don't understand that. The judo, the footwork, they don't. And that's okay. That's okay. But MMA is complex. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of details to it. They need to make it to the average consumer with the scoreboard. So the UFC's in its prime. And UFC 239 was a prime example of that. These fights not only need to happen, but they will happen. And like I said, Conor McGregor coming back adds that star power. I think that Bones fight really gets booked. So I'm very happy with where the UFC is at. I think that has stars. And I looked at their pound for pound list, and like these guys are just the top of the line. And right now they're on top. They're the champions. They're the champions. And I wanted to give a huge shout out to like First Round Management and American Top Team because they stole the show at UFC 239. American Top Team had Amanda Nunes, Jorge Masvidal, and those two stole the show with their knockouts. And First Round Management, their fighters stole the show. Smart wins. Their strategies, their game plan, their fights, entertaining, smart, well thought out, and victories. They stole the show. American Top Team and First Round Management. So if you're a new UFC fan and you're watching this for the first time or you're listening to this podcast, there's a lot of people for you to follow. There's a lot of champions for you to look into. Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier will happen. Jorge Masvidal will get a title shot. It's going to happen. Conor McGregor's returning. The UFC's in a great position going forward. Now they just need to make the matchups. I don't know what's next for Amanda Nunes. I don't know what's next for her. She's beaten every champion. I think Chris Cyborg. But she already has a fight against our very own Felicia Spencer. And I think Felicia Spencer can shock the world. So it's interesting. It's interesting for Amanda Nunes. I don't think there's one particular answer. Maybe it's just a regular title defense. Not every fight has to be bigger than the next fight. I think that's what Conor McGregor got into. Maybe it's just fighting the well-deserved, the most worthy fight. Doesn't always have to be a super fight after you become champ. It could just be a regular fight. We'll see. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. We have a huge week of podcasts. A couple big guests coming on. A lot of NBA. It's going to be getting into the NFL season soon. But I felt really good to just sit down and talk about UFC 239. Please download and subscribe to the Max Van Auken Podcast. It's on any podcast platform, but Apple Podcast, of course, is the main one. And thank you for tuning in on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch myself, I'm on YouTube, Max Van Auken. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Please tell a friend. Share it. I always appreciate the support. I'm also on any social media platform, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, but mainly Instagram and Twitter, Max Van Auken. And I appreciate you guys. All UFC episode, I absolutely love these. So I appreciate you guys. Have a great day or night or whatever you're listening to this, and have a great one.